So if you want to trade stocks with more confidence, with higher success rate in order to make more profit and reduce risk, here is a great news to share with you. Uping stock prediction tools are available in upingstock.com online store. In this video, I will introduce a powerful trading tool to you. So it's really a great tool and profitable tools that can help you to make more profits and prevent loss in trading, even in day trade or even in near-term or long-term investment. And it can be used for either beginners, traders, or professional traders because it's easy to estimate those kind of target high and target low. The price fluctuation is kind of within your expectation with high probability. So at first, when I first see this kind of a tool, I just thought it is too good to be true, and because when it reaches some kind of a trend lines and it started to have the price reversal and it touched the trend line and it touched it so well, and I thought it is really too good to be true. But actually, after I have tested for a long time, I really think it's a real tool, a real powerful tool, and it's very surprising. This tool can be used to automatically generate all those kind of trend lines that represent the target high and the target low for any time frame you choose. For example, weekly chart or daily chart or monthly chart or even 60 minutes chart or 15 minutes chart or even 5 minutes chart. So it can be used to check any stocks, and also it matches very well. So for example, this is a Google and the weekly chart and the daily chart, and you can see this kind of fluctuation are also included in this kind of trend lines. And this is a daily chart, and you see those kind of trend lines represents those kind of potential high and low, and when it reaches some kind of trend lines and started to have a price reversal. And for example, if this is Apple, this is the Apple weekly chart and the Apple daily chart, and you see these trend lines that shows uptrend. So it's kind of increasing trend, and all this, even this kind of weekly fluctuation, you see when it touches these trend lines and it touches so well, and then it started to have a reversal and started to change direction. And even for this kind of daily chart, it also matched very well. You see when this reaches this trend line and it started to decrease, and when it dropped to these trend lines and they started to increase. So, and also you can see these trend lines are uptrend, and so the price are still increasing over this kind of days. So for example, if you check this HD Home Depot, and this is the weekly chart, and this is the daily chart. If I make it in a longer time, so if, for example, if this is the weekly chart, Home Depot HD, so you can see when the price dropped to this bottom trend line, and it started to price started to increase. So it's have a price reversal at this point. So generally the bottom trend line generally represent the most profitable trend lines represent the low. So generally when it price dropped to here, generally you buy it, you will earn more money. And if you see after it dropped down to this trend line and started to have a reversal, of course there's some kind of a fluctuation, and I will show you later. Even during this kind of a fluctuation, even during the 60 minutes or 15 minutes or even 5 minutes, that trend lines still generate a very good bonding envelope, bounding trend lines for the price fluctuation. But generally for over this week, you see the price started to increase, and the went closed here, and then the next week in the opened here and opened here, and it's still it opened here. That means definitely there's a fluctuation range. It will be here, but it will still trying to find another support at the next lower level trend line. So when it dropped to here, and then the price started to have a reversal, and you can see, and then continuously to increase. So all this kind of, you see this went closed here, increased to here, very close to this yellow trend line. So that time, that week is already over, and then when it opened here a little bit below this one, but since it's open here, the fluctuation range, the regular fluctuation range is in this one, so it may try to find the next lower level support. So it tried to drop it here, but many people wanted to start to buy it and started to increase. So even for this week, you see it open here, and it at a time it dropped to here trying to find a support, and then have a price reversal and started to increase. So even this is a HD weekly chart, HD daily chart. Even for this kind of a daily chart, you see this low, high, low for this day or daily, and also it touches this kind of trend lines. It's fluctuate between trend lines, maybe like a covers one band or two band, one range or two range, and you can see this kind of a fluctuation. For example, when it opened here, and when it increased below above this top trend line, and this have a strong increasing momentum, and even increased a little bit more, but after this increased above this top trend line, generally after some time it will still drop down to a lower almost the bottom trend line. So you can see after 2 days, and it dropped here, and then it dropped here, started to increase a little bit, and then the next day when it opened here, you see when it opened here, even though this price are very close, but this price is already above one band above this trend line, because for example this closing price is below this blue trend line, but this open price is above this upper blue trend line. So that means it increased by one more band. So that means it will have an increasing trend. But generally, when before it started to increase, it will still trying to decrease to find a support. So you see when it opened here, and one time it dropped down to this trend line, touches this blue trend line, it find a support, and then it started to increase, and even increase to this top trend line. So if you know this kind of a trend, and then you will have a better confidence, and then you can start to know, and it will have a good uptrend trying to increase the price. And then if you buy, for example, buy the stock at this price and then sell it at this one, you will still make a lot of money on that day. So for example, this price is $285, and this price is $292. It's almost $7 or $8 above. So if you make 100 shares, $7 or $8, you will make $700-800. If you have 1,000 shares, then that means you will make almost like $7,000 or $8,000 in just one day. So even for this weekly chart or daily chart, it still make a good sense to know or predict those kind of target high and target low. So you know, if you watch my videos before, so So or for this prediction model, so this tip of the next trend line, after this time frame is closed or completed, the tip of this trend lines will become the high and the low for the next time frame, for the next day. For example, if this daily chart, then that becomes the target high and the target low for the next day, or next predicted trend line will also be generated. A new day start when the stock price fluctuates in this range, then this point then becomes the target high and the target low for that day or for that time frame. So that means for each time frame, like 30 minutes time frame or 15 minutes or 60 minutes or daily or weekly, so basically you will have some references that's a high and a low, so that means you will have a better confidence to predict the high and the low for that time frame, and then you will have a better chance to make more profit or prevent loss. So for example, if I change this to 60 minutes chart, even for 60 minutes chart, you see for this 60 minutes chart, you see this trend line are downtrend. So when these trend lines are downtrend, so generally when it reaches to this yellow trend line, it will start to decrease. So for example, when it opened here and push it up a little bit, touch this yellow trend line, and it started to decrease and even dropped down below this bottom trend line. And then the next new 60 minutes start, and then you see these trend lines are still in downtrend. So that means it still have a decreasing trend, and then it opened here, it continues to drop, and when it drops to this, touch this bottom trend line, and it started to bounce up a little bit. So and even for this one, for example, for this 60 minutes, it also have a downtrend, so it started to flow, dropped down, and the price and open here for this 60 minutes, open here and dropped down a little bit, and went dropped down to this bottom trend line, so it started to increase a little bit, and but it's still below this yellow trend line. So the next new 60 minutes when it opened here, and then it started to increase a little bit, but since it still have the downtrend, so when it touches this middle yellow trend line, it still started to decrease, and even decreased to below, dropped down below this bottom trend line. So typically when it dropped down, even below this bottom trend line, typically it will have a good chance to increase the stock price, have a reversal. So when it dropped even down to here, and it increased a little bit here for this 60 minutes, and then the next 60 minutes when it opened here, so even though this opening price and the closing price are very close, but you see when it opened here, it's almost one more band above this trend line. So because this price is still below this trend line, and when it opened here for the next 60 minutes, it's opened around this blue trend line. So this blue trend line is two more trend lines above, so that means it will start to increase. It will have a increased trend for this current 60 minutes. So maybe it will have a small fluctuation, drop it down a little bit to test this low, and then it will start to increase and increase to this top trend line, yellow trend line, and even have a much stronger increasing momentum, and increase a little bit more. So and then it started to decrease a little bit, and then the next new 60 minutes when it opened here, so it's still open here, closed. The price are very close, but this is already one or two band lower. So this one is above the top trend line, but this opening price for this 60 minutes is opened on the bottom yellow trend line, so that means it still have a little bit more decreasing momentum, so it started to decrease. But generally, since it's still started from here, so it still have a strong increasing momentum. So when it dropped here and then it's started to increase, it's a kind of a transition band, and then it's even increased here to a upper level to the yellow trend line, and then when it dropped here trying to find a support, and then it will still started to increase, because when the stock price moved up to this yellow trend line, break through this bottom yellow trend line, so generally in this yellow trend line region, that means it have a strong increasing momentum, it have more potential to increase to a higher price, or even to this top yellow trend line. So generally in this kind of a region, this bottom yellow trend line may still become a support. So when it dropped here, and then it still started to have a flow price reversal and started to increase the stock price. So it's just price fluctuate between these trend lines, among these trend lines. So these trend lines include this kind of a price fluctuation very well, and when it increase the breakthrough this top trend line, generally it means it have a very strong increasing momentum. It may increase above this top trend line. You see at this moment this top trend line have a very strong uptrend, so it has a very strong increasing momentum, and even increased a little bit more above this yellow trend line, top trend line. But generally for this kind of situation, over a little bit longer time, it will still price will not hold it at that level, because it's exceeded the top trend line a lot. So it will still the price will still fluctuate down to a lower trend line, trying to find a support. And even you see when you compare this price and this price, it dropped down even to this bottom trend line, blue trend line, and this one breaks through this blue trend line, so that means it have a much strong decreasing momentum. But when it closed here, when it opened here for the next 60 minutes, so it's still one band above this trend line. So generally it will increase, but before it increase, generally it will still trying to drop and trying to find a support. So when it drop, even break through this blue trend line and touch this blue trend line, and then it will have a price reversal and then started to increase. So this is you see this downtrend, the trend line. When the trend line has a downtrend, it also this 60 minutes when it opened here, closing here, it have a big drop over this 60 minutes. And when for this 60 minutes it's opened here and it dropped to a bottom, the bottom trend line. So it still have a big drop over this 60 minutes, because these trend lines are downtrend. So this is 60 minutes. So even though you check a 15 minutes chart, you see this 15 minutes chart, you see when for any 15 minutes, these trend lines are already generated. So when this 15 minutes is over, is completed, so these trend lines, the tip of these trend lines are already finalized. So that means these trend lines are already generated even before this new 15 minutes start. So it's a kind of a predicted price for this new 15 minutes. So when this new 15 minutes start, so you can see this trend lines has a downtrend. So that means this new 15 minutes will still have a downtrend. So you see here, when 15 minutes opened here, it's still started to drop the price and even dropped below this blue trend line and dropped to the bottom trend line. So when it touches this bottom trend line, generally it will start to have a flow price reversal and it started to increase the price. And when it increased from the bottom to the top, especially when this trend line has a downtrend, generally each trend line at the upper level will become a kind of a resistance. So when it drops, stock price increases to here, you will feel that to have some kind of a resistance. It's become a little bit harder to increase the stock price. So when this close, when this 15 minutes is finished, and then the next new 15 minutes start here, because this trend line you see here is already generated even before the first data point of this new 15 minutes is start. So these trend lines are already generated. So you can see these trend lines are still have a downtrend. So that means this new 15 minutes are still have a decreasing trend. And when it opened here, and you see when it opened here, it's very close to this yellow trend line. So when it has a downtrend, so this the bottom yellow trend line is a very strong resistance. So generally it will not break through this bottom trend line. So you can see when it opened here, very close to this bottom yellow trend line, it started to decrease the price and even try to decrease it to this bottom. And then this 15 minutes is finished. And then the next new 15 minutes, when it opened here and trying to push up a little bit, very close to this yellow trend line, but it still have a very strong resistance. And then this has a downtrend, and then it still started to decrease. So you can see for this downtrend and this 15 minutes continuously drop over this each 15 minutes, and open here, closed here, it has a decreasing trend, and each 15 minutes it has a decreasing trend, and even when it decreases, and it's also enclosed between this yellow trend line and this bottom trend line. So even for this increasing trend, you see these trend lines are uptrend. So when you see for each new 15 minutes start, this kind of trend lines are already generated before this 15 minutes. So you can see this have the increasing trend. So generally the stock price will start to increase. And even though when this one opened a little bit below this yellow trend line, so it pushed up a little bit, but since it opened below this yellow trend line, so generally it will start to still trying to find a support or lower price at the lower trend line. So when you see this open here a little bit below this yellow trend line, and it pushed it up a little bit, and then it still started to drop. When it dropped to this lower level yellow trend line, and it still started to increase the price. So when you see this 15 minutes is over, and then the next new 15 minutes is open here, very close, almost at the yellow trend line. So you see these trend lines are still uptrend. So that means it will have a increasing trend for this 15 minutes. But when it opened here very close to this yellow trend line, it will try to test the low price of this 15 minutes. So it will start still dropped down to this lower level trend line. So when it tries to drop down to around this blue trend line, and it started to increase again, so have a price reversal, and then this 15 minutes increased, have a big increase or noticeable increase, and then increased even down up to this top trend line. So when it up to this top trend line, generally it will start to flow, drop down a little bit, and then when this one opened here, that's a one yellow trend line below, so it will still drop down to the lower level trend line up to this one, but since it still have the uptrend, so it will start to still increase again, increase even to this top trend line. So this, even for 60 minutes or 15 minutes, you can still see this kind of trend lines includes those kind of price fluctuation very well. When it touches to some kind of a top trend line or bottom trend line, it will start to have some kind of price reversal. So generally, when it dropped down to this bottom trend line, so it's still a good buying point. So especially when it have uptrend during that period. So during this kind of uptrend, typically it will not drop down to this bottom trend line. Typically it may just drop down to this bottom yellow trend line or the top blue trend line, and then started to increase up to this kind of top trend line. So generally for this kind of decreasing trend period, and typically even though when it opened or increased up to this bottom yellow trend line, it will typically start to decrease the price. And when it dropped down to this bottom trend line, generally it will have some kind of flow reversal or price increase, and then depends if it will finish this 15 minutes, and then you will see the next new 15 minutes. So this is just the 15 minutes chart. So even for 5 minutes chart, this kind of trend lines are still doing good, doing very well to predict the next high or low, even in 5 minutes trend. So you can see for this 5 minutes trend, so that means each bar is 5 minutes fluctuation. So each bar is a 5 minutes fluctuation, and this kind of trend lines, the yellow trend line and the blue trend line, are already generated even during the current 5 minutes. So the next trend lines are already generated. So when the current 5 minutes is finished, and then the next trend lines are finalized, so it will not change when the next new 5 minutes start. So you can see generally all these 5 minutes of fluctuation are enclosed between this trend line, top trend line or bottom trend line, so are enclosed in this trend lines, and then you can see this kind of uptrend from this 5 minutes chart or downtrend 5 minutes chart. So if you see this kind of a downtrend 5 minutes chart, then you will be very cautious about this kind of temporary increase of the stock price. So generally when it increased to this top trend lines, if this has a downtrend trend line, and generally when it increases to this top trend line, it will still start to decrease the price, even though it may not be reflected for the current 5 minutes, and then the next 5 minutes it will start to drop. You see, from started open here and start to drop, even dropped down to this bottom trend line. So when it dropped to this bottom trend line, typically even for 5 minutes it will still have a temporary price reversal, and may start to increase the stock price a little bit even for this 5 minutes. I mean, for this kind of fluctuation, for this price, for example, this price is $303. If you change it to this one, is $304 $1.15. So even between this price and this price, there's about $1 of fluctuation or increase. So even for this $1 of increase, if you have 1,000 shares, that means you will earn $1,000 in just 5 minutes. And then if you, based on this kind of a trend line, you will have a better confidence or better expectation about this kind of a temporary increase. So if you purchase the stocks around this price and then sell it even at this price, just with $1 of stock price change or difference. If you have 1,000 shares, then you will earn $1,000. So you see, this still have a top, the trend line, the 5 minutes still have this kind of downtrend trend line. So when the stock price increased to this kind of yellow trend line, especially around this middle trend line, yellow trend line, you will be cautious, and because if it has a downtrend, it will typically not increase up to this top trend line. So likely or fortunately, it may increase to this middle yellow trend line, and it will still start to decrease the price. You see, when it almost touches this middle yellow trend line, the stock price start to decrease and closed in this 5 minutes. When it opened here, fluctuated here, and that's a temporary transition 5 minutes, and then the next 5 minutes it started opened here, started to decrease, even decrease to this bottom trend line again. So even for this kind of 5 minutes chart, so all this kind of stock price fluctuation are enclosed among this kind of trend lines, top trend line and the bottom trend line, and it's fluctuate between this kind of trend lines. And then when the trend lines have a downtrend, and then it will continuously drop. So this kind of continuous drop, and then you will see those kind of continuous drop even in a bigger time frame, like 15 minutes or 60 minutes or even daily or weekly. So you will know this will continuously have the decreasing trend or downtrend. So you see, this is a 5 minutes chart. So generally you can see all this kind of increasing trend. So each 5 minutes fluctuation will fluctuate between this kind of top trend line, the yellow trend line, and then it will start to increase, because this kind of trend lines have the uptrend. And this kind of uptrend, you will see this kind of uptrend from the previous 5 minutes and also from the next predicted 5 minutes, because this kind of trend lines are already generated when you are in this current 5 minutes. So when the current 5 minutes is finished, then this trend line for the next 5 minutes is finished. So this trend line, the price will not change when this new 5 minutes start. So basically, when you use these trend lines to check the stock price fluctuation, basically you will see all those kind of trend lines. So you will just compare your current stock price with those kind of target high and target low price and or trend line. So it's like playing a game. So it will become much straightforward and easier, and also with a better estimation about the high and the low with high probability. So you can see all this kind of previous history, and these trend lines are automatically generated, not artificially generated. So some people may just manually drop some trend lines, trying to predict or estimate if it will increase or if it will decrease, but that's very difficult. And also sometimes the stock price changes rapidly, and you can't just manually draw those kind of trend lines, and also it's not accurate. But this kind of trend lines are automatically generated even before even before the next new 5 minutes or next new time frame start. So basically you can predict the next trend lines or next target high and target low. So basically you will know the uptrend or downtrend for the next time frame, and you can see all this kind of increasing trend, uptrend, and even fluctuate among these trend lines, and then generally it will start to increase, the stock price increase. So all this previous history, even for 5 minutes, and you will show this matches very well. It's so well. And in the beginning, when I first learned this tool, I at first I just can't believe it, because it's too good to be true, and it touches this kind of trend line exactly, and then started to have the price reversal. So at first I just didn't believe it, but I have tested and have used this tool for a long time, so I really believe it, and it's a very good, profitable tool, trading tool. Even it's easier to be used for beginners or even for professional traders. So it's amazing tools. So if you interested in this kind of tools, if you are a subscriber of this YouTube channel, so you can get a 2 or 3 weeks of free trial version of this tool. So you can get basically a free trials for the first time user. So watch more videos in this YouTube channel, or you can subscribe this channel, YouTube channel, and all these tools can be purchased through the upingstock.com online store. So you see, for all this kind of fluctuation, you see all this kind of 5 minutes of fluctuation are included in this kind of trend lines very well. So basically, even though you use this 5 minutes chart, you can still have a very good estimation of the high and the low for the next time frame with a high probability, with a high confidence, and make your trading becomes much easier and much profitable, and to make more profit and prevent loss. So if you are interested in this kind of tools, so just watch more videos or subscribe YouTube channel, and even try to get a free trial version for the first time user. Thanks for watching.